Ends up. People get feisty. I just thought our guys from last Sunday when we brought them back in after the A&M game had a little chip on their shoulder, a little anger, and practiced really well all course of the week. We're healthy going into this game, the healthiest we've been this year, so I thought there was a good indication we could play well, and obviously that happened. There was at halftime had to still make some tweaks, some adjustments. Didn't want Austin to get hit anymore. Asked our guys to play a little bit cleaner up front on offense. Defensively, I knew we just didn't want to let that quarterback get outside the pocket because they just run all goes and they hit two big plays before the end of the half. So to get out of there as a teaching moment is really, really big. Give credit to them. I think they have a good football team. We knew they were going to throw it around the field quite a bit. That quarterback's got a really good arm and a couple good receivers. So, but I just thought our guys prepared well and played well. We got to be cleaner in certain regards, but to get that feeling coming off the field, going into a nice run of SEC play here, to get a chance to get off the field at a decent hour and have some recovery time before our preparation for South Carolina, and then to go on the road next week is a good place to be in. So we're back to an even ball club, but we take it one game at a time, and nobody's more important now than South Carolina.
Questions for Coach. We'll start on the left. Bob.
Yeah, Bret, what was the key to getting Stewart and Jones more involved? And also, we didn't see Petway out there.
Yeah, I removed Petway from the program on Thursday until Sunday. We'll have a conversation on Sunday. Just needed to get a couple things straight for him. Nothing bad or anything. He didn't do anything wrong other than a little bit of academics, a little bit being on time where he needed to be at the right time, right place. The kid's a good kid, and I like him, but he's got to learn to do it. So that took him out. I knew that Thursday moving forward. Really, he had not gotten anything with the ones for the last 2 weeks. He'd been, with the twos and threes. Deion Stewart really, for the first time, practiced healthy. To be quite honest, he had tweaked his ankle in the opener and had missed a little bit of practice time going into the CCU game and A&M. So I think him practicing, and you saw the speed on that first touchdown run. I mean, when he puts that foot in the ground, he can go. Jordan Jones, again, a guy last year we wanted to play, but because of the way it all kind of worked out, we didn't play him. We thought he's a guy that could make a step forward, and he did it. And then Jonathan Nance, again, just continues to, I think him and Austin have a nice connection, and the short game and the long game, and he's a very, very, very detailed player.
I feel this one was where time of possession really was pretty essential for you.
Yeah, Nate, I did. I knew their offense was going to. They put him. Most quarterbacks line up about 5 yards deep. He lined up about 6.5, and they get rid of the ball pretty quickly in normal situations. And they had designed a little bit of a. They were sitting in there and they felt the pressure. If he felt too long, he just did a whirly-bird spin out and broke pressure to the outside. So a nice adjustment our guys made for the second half, but. I knew we weren't going to be able to get to him all that much unless you just brought all-out pressure. So we thought offensively to keep the ball in our hands and move the chains, make first downs, and score in the red zone was going to be big. That's why I was really aggressive on fourth down calls.
Bret, turnover on the kickoff.
Yeah.
Micah Smith
Yeah.
lose the importance of that play.
Yeah. Micah, we really hammered our coverage units. Again, last week, they were really good except for one, so we kept telling our guys every time they took the field, this is the one, this is the one, this is the one. We added Derek Munson in there. I'm sure you saw that. A kid by the name of Brendan Young, who's a transfer, who really has a physicality to him. I saw him doing things against our offense on scout team, asked him to come on and be a part of our special teams unit, and he does a really nice job. He was blowing people up in there today. And then, the addition of some of the standard usual guys, Ryder Lucas and Reed Miller, and another guy that's been really good for us, Nate Dalton on special teams. He was tremendous last week, and I think good for us again this week.
Hey, Bret, I think there were 3 times you were in field goal range, but you went for it. Was that more you just didn't want to try field goals, or just what went into that? And do you plan to try a field goal at some point?
So in the game, again, based on who we're playing and where we're at, we get an analytic report that kind of takes percentages of college football, but also what you produced this year, the range of your kicker, and it kind of gives you a formula to tell you whether or not it's a good decision to go for it. And they go by just basically play percentages, kind of like a Moneyball approach to fourth down. And I told Paul on all of those occasions, I told Dan on all of those occasions, hey, we have 2 downs before he called third down play. So it's set up, maybe if it was 3rd and 4, we could run 2 runs rather than try to go for it on 1 pass play. So it was detailed thought before the game. It wasn't really anything that instinctually happened during the game. I think our kicker is good. Connor's hit the ball really, really well. Hit it good during practice. I just want to be aggressive with it today.
Just how important you feel as far as keeping there away from momentum, the interception that Kevin Richardson had off the Morgan deflection?
Yeah, it was big. Grant Morgan's one of those players that just, he's a really instinctive player and a guy that just feels the game really well. And he saw a vertical route there, and he just kind of buried and turned and ran and tipped that play, and it was a big-time play.
Directly to your right, Coach.
Coach B, just talk about the run game today and what you thought about Whaley and Williams and Chase Hayden.
All three of those guys, each one of them's got a different skill set. I think we wanted to hit the ball north and south against these guys because they were running so many pressures. We just needed to get a hat on the hat and try to crease one. And all of them were really doing a pretty good job of that. I think protection-wise, Devois and David probably still give us a little bit more. But Chase is a dynamic player, and, we got a pregame script on kind of how many plays we want to get him before so Dan has his openers, and we had in the first 6 plays a way to make sure that all 3 of those guys touched the ball in the first 6 plays.
Straight downtown.
Oh, yeah, piggybacking off Nate's question, you got a sack on their first series and then the pick on the second. Just getting them off rhythm and kind of getting the lead, how important was that?
It was big. Again, I think this is a dangerous team. They're coming in here, and they obviously played Arizona State down to the wire at the beginning of the year. They're not afraid of Power 5 opponents. I've known Coach Martin for a long time, and a lot of my coaches knew he's a well-coached. The O-line coach is my former GA, and I knew what he was all about and what they were being taught up front. So it was a fun game to be in. Obviously, it's behind us, but I did think we were going to have to play a ball control offense just to make sure that we got out here with a W. Your hair's looking great, Tom, by the way. I don't know how mine looks. It looks great.
Hey, you mentioned a few things that you want to clean up. The receiver, the 6'6" receiver, you knew he was potent, but what you thought of him and the things that you want to clean up from this?
Again, I think the plays that really broke down for us were plays that were in the pocket, and all of a sudden he would dash, kind of do that spin, come outside, and break contain. So we had answers there, but we got to get off the thickness of the block. I think they were getting around on our perimeter too much. Offensively, I thought we had a really, and I know I didn't get mic'd last week, as Bob mentioned, but I'm afraid I would have got mic'd on the field when Paul Ramirez had that holding call. It was just, it's silly. It's a screen play. He's 20 yards away from the play, and he grabbed the collar, and the roughing the passer call in the first half, we kind of hit the quarterback once near the boundary, once in the pocket, and I knew that flag was going to be coming. Wrote it in my halftime notes, said it to both people. I said, they are going to get us. They're not going to let you hit their quarterback. And that played at Dre. It's frustrating as a defensive player. You want to get that sack, you get in there, and that hesitation is just, and he just kind of two-hand pushed him. But I would want them to protect our quarterback just like they protected theirs.
Hey, Bret, following up on Stewart and Jones, I mean, how important, especially moving into SEC play, was it to get those guys more involved?
Other than the first time you asked? All right. What else? Let me see if I can write Bob's article for him here more. I think they're both very dynamic. They're two different players, too. Deion's a shifty guy. Is very quick. He's fast, but he's more quick. And I think Jordan is on the flip side of that. He's very fast, and better on long routes, vertical routes. And Jonathan Nance is kind of the hybrid of the two. But for us to get into SEC play, we know that a third down call, they might bracket Jonathan or they might roll up on him if they can, and those other two guys got to be productive. So I think there was a very conscientious effort by Mike and Dan to get those guys involved in the game plan. So you can see what they do, you know what I mean? So they can, a defense can say, hey, we do got to be aware of where 13 is. We got to be aware of where 10 is and what he can do.
Or throw to the right, Coach.
You kind of talked to a little bit about this already, but could you elaborate a little bit more on the offensive line? What do you think they did well today that they weren't able to do against Texas A&M in games before?
Again, it's by committee. I thought there was some guys that stepped up during the course of the week. I told them, let's get Zach Rogers in there. Let's see what he can do. We're just that, and Ty's doing some things, but we got to keep him coming along. Obviously, the part that we got to try to find is our 4 best players that play together. And Russell came in, our guest captain came in and gave a speech yesterday, and I think he held the record for most starts in Arkansas player with 46 starts in a career. And he had 2 great comments. The first thing he said to our group was, when he got the phone call 2 or 3 weeks ago to be a guest captain, how excited he was, but nervous because he was going to be talking to his brothers. And those guys had never met him, seen him, and it gave that connection to the old regime, which I think was huge. And then he talked about his first play against Alabama as an SEC starter and made the message, hey, you didn't believe that there was a guy that could be 12 inches away from you and hit you that hard, and how he responded to that, and it's tough. It's a difficult road, but you got to respond the right way, and I thought that message from him was great for our linemen to hear.
Couple more, Bob.
I am not answering the question.
Yeah, that other answer was good. I can use that. It's been a while since you won. Just how good was it to win, and being a winning locker room? And then what kind of momentum does this give you going into this SEC stretch?
The last question, because it was a lot better. Yeah, we haven't won since our opener. I get it. We lost 2 in a row. I think our guys knew going out of that game that we can win, and I think that's was kind of the chippiness, the angerness, even from the coaches. Just you do all this work, why not win the games? Why not put ourselves in a position to be talked about on a bigger scale? I look at tonight's game, and you see Virginia Tech, Clemson. I made that point to our guys. On Thursday night, I said, here you're up on these guys 24 points at the end of the year, and we can't close the second half. Look where they're at. Look where we're at. And you could be there so easily. TCU, everybody wanted to. Say, well, how good? Well, TCU was up to whatever, top 10 in the country, knocked off a really good Oklahoma State team last week. We went swing for swing with one of, I think, the better teams in the country. It's just this is a difficult league. A&M played hot, got themselves in an overtime game, could have had one, didn't. I'm tired of saying could have, so we tried to change the narrative. Told them at halftime I wanted to change the narrative about being a better, an explosive second half team, and that was a big point of emphasis.
How do you feel moving forward in the SEC?
Well, I'm excited. We have my first year, I think, is when we played South Carolina, and that was when Coach was still there. And if you remember that game, we actually ran for a lot of yards, but we fumbled like 5 times. And I remember Coach Spurrier saying, yeah, something about you can run for all those yards, but you can't fumble that many times. And I just wanted to play golf with him. So I thought about that, and Will's a good guy that I've known for a long time. So I know I know it's a big game for David. I think obviously we have a South Carolina transfer. I'm not going to ignore the elephant in the room there. I think our guys are excited to get into SEC play and see exactly where they're at. I do like the fact we'll kind of tweak our schedule a little bit tomorrow to have more of a jump on South Carolina out of a Sunday, so we can have a little more preparation and make it into a great week.
Any more questions? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.